think there's something about a player I played with who scored a lot more goals, certainly in his first season. We'll see what Nunes does. Was Fernando Torres, where he's got that power, physically to knock defenders back, and that blistering pace, but at times maybe technically not the best in terms of general play, build-up. At times you give the ball to Fernando and he could lose it and be a little bit awkward. And I think he looks like that right now. He just reminds me of him.
There's Jamie Carragher talking about, in some respects, the much maligned Darwin Nunes has come in for big money this season, huge money, at the same time as Erling Haaland. And of course, the fan opinion is there. The comparisons are there. He is being weighed up pound for pound, move for move, game by game against Haaland. And maybe that's unfair because Haaland is the most prolific young European striker post-World War II. There hasn't been a striker who has either moved to Europe or has been brought up in Europe, developed in Europe, that at the age of 22 has scored the level of goals that Erling Haaland has done, especially domestically. It's a fact. So maybe comparing Darwin Nunes to him is a little bit harsh and a little bit fair, considering that Haaland is the quote-unquote a freak of nature. And I mean that as an absolute compliment to him. But Darwin Nunes has been ridiculed every step of the way, and I know I've certainly enjoyed the banter on him. But I am rethinking what my eyes are maybe telling me. I am rethinking because maybe my eyes are telling me something and my brain are telling me something because I'm kind of being manipulated by social media. Maybe I'm a little bit wrong about the overall element of Darwin Nunes, but I want to get your thoughts and I want to get your feelings on this. Make sure like buttons are being smashed. Make sure you are subscribing to the Football Terrace. Let's take another little bit more of a look here at what Carragher and Thierry Henry had to say.
I think in its confidence, and the confidence that I'm talking about is when you are at a club and you feel like you're going to play week in, week out, you're a bit more cold in front of the goal. Because he wants to please so much and do so much and wow, he wants to wow the Liverpool fans. Sometimes he rushes it. He gets the ball, he rushes it instead of controlling the ball.
And that's such an interesting take there from Thierry Henry. Thierry Henry, many people's GOAT of the Premier League, one of the greatest football players of the last 30 to 40 years. Some will say one of the greatest of all time, and that's a debate to be had in a separate conversation, but he is an absolute star. Maybe not the best manager. However, just because he didn't become the best manager or best coach in the world doesn't mean that he doesn't understand football. That's more about translating it in a dressing room and getting the best out of people. It's a very different skill set indeed. Understanding the game, the pressures of being a player of that level, playing at the highest degree of the game, the expectation of joining a big club. Thierry Henry knows this as much as anybody. He joined Arsenal. He joined Barcelona. He played for France. It doesn't get more pressurized than that. And I agree with him. I think with Darwin Nunes, there is this element of, I need to perform. I need to be the man. I need to be Haaland. I've got to ensure that I repay this 75 million euro, rising to potentially 100 million euro transfer fee. I need to make sure I'm worth it. And I think in games, kind of lets him down a little bit at times. We've already mentioned earlier on in the video that there is this kind of the eye test element as well, which he's currently failing. But is he failing it because we're being told he's failing? Or is he failing it because he really isn't that good a football player? What do you think?
Going back on his right foot or finish it clean. He kind of rushes it. And I think I went through that. When you arrive, big signing, you're coming after Sadio Mane, and that's not easy to do. And you just overdo it at times instead of being calm and cool. And
so instead of being calm and cool, overdoing it at times. Totally get that. You've also got the bit that Henry mentioned there around following Mane. Now, I don't think it's actually, oh my God, I'm following Mane, I'm scared. I think this is more life after Mane. You're also talking about a Liverpool team where defensively they've fallen off. Trent, awful this year. Van Dijk doesn't look the best centre-back at Liverpool, let alone the best centre-back in the world. You've got the heart and soul of the team, Fabinho, who is one of the best DMs in European football for a 3 to 4 year period. has suddenly fallen off. So you've got a large part of the core that's either underperforming or is left. They're trying to adapt and play in a different way. They're trying to use Mo Salah in a more creative role to get the very best out of Darwin Nunes. And you've got to do that. You're not going to put Darwin Nunes in the creative role in the wide positions regularly, are you? Because he's a goal scorer, or they want him to become a prolific goal scorer. So there does have to be an adjustment period, and Liverpool are suffering with that. Of course, if they'd gone out and bought a world-class midfielder, maybe strengthened up the back a little bit more as well, maybe they wouldn't be seeing as many problems, and the Darwin Nunes situation wouldn't be as big as it is. And this is what can sometimes happen. You see this situation right now at Arsenal. Gabriel at the back, very talented, very good defender. But I feel like there's been a bozo moment or two in every single game. There's been a mistake in almost every single game. Penalties being given away, getting caught in possession, rushing out from the back. You know, it's been he's been a massive contributing factor in a lot of the goals that Arsenal conceded. But the Arsenal fans are not really focusing upon it because they're the best team in the league right now. They're flying high. They're top of the Prem, title race, qualified with ease through their Europa League group. So no one's really focusing on the downfall. And Liverpool fans had this with Firmino. When Firmino first started to not impact games as much, when he wasn't scoring as many goals when he first arrived, and he did start off being fairly prolific. When that dropped off, but Liverpool was still challenging for titles, winning leagues, no one cared at Liverpool. And I remember saying to Liverpool fans, you will care, though, when your overall form drops off. And subsequently, we need better, we need more goals, we need people to be more prolific up front. And that's what's going on with Darwin Nunes right now, and I'm convinced of it. Of course, there are flaws in his game. I'm not denying that. So if you've got 7 minutes into this video, don't sit there and think I'm saying there's no issue with Darwin Nunes. There's nothing that he needs to improve on. But eye test assessments are absolutely overrated because they don't tell you the full story. They actually create more of a bias than anything else because there's no critical thinking that's involved. It's I am now watching and I'm waiting for a particular mistake to show my opinion is right. With Darwin Nunes now, everybody is now searching for confirmation bias. That big chance that he misses. That bad touch that's kind of comical looking as opposed to the overall element of his game. And I bring that up because when you actually look at this statistically, his first touch is something that's massively focused upon. You can see here, this is the Premier League's, and I'll say worse because it's not a great stat, is unsuccessful touches per game that lead to your team losing possession. So that's either the first touch loses possession or the touch is so bad it puts you into a predicament and you lose the ball within a matter of, I think it's up to 5 seconds. So this shows you that the Wilfried Zaha, Gabriel Jesus, Solanke's on this list. You've got Welbeck on this list. You've got Mitrovic, who's having a brilliant season. Tony, who everybody's raving about. They're on this list. Some you would expect, some you probably wouldn't, but that is where it lies. Darwin Nunes, however, who is reported to have a bad first touch, the worst first touch, always messing up the play, subsequently only loses the ball 1.1 times per game with a bad touch. So I'm not too sure where that sits him within the overall Premier League rankings because I didn't bother myself to check. But if the person leading the way is at 4.4 times per game, the person in 10th is doing it 2.8 times per game, Darwin Nunes doing it essentially once isn't too much of an issue. And this is the reason why when I see something with my eyes, I like to investigate it with statistics to then compare the two, reassess with my eyes, and see if I can notice something a little bit different so that I can try to block out confirmation bias. You also see this when you compare him to one of the best players in the Premier League this year, Gabriel Jesus. Now, let me just state this straight away. Gabriel Jesus is a better overall football player than Darwin Nunes right now and maybe ever will be. I'm not denying that for a single second. But it isn't all bad for Darwin Nunes. As you can see quite clearly illustrated here, you can see this. In terms of minutes played, a lot less, we know. But he loses possession only around 9 times per game. He scored 0.7 goals per 90 minutes that he plays. All of them are non-penalty goals. 0.3 headers. His shot accuracy is around 44%. conversion rate around 11. That certainly is what needs to improve. His chance creation is just as high as a player lauded for creating chances, and rightfully lauded. I'm not having a go at Gabriel Jesus here. And then you look at the pass accuracy side of things, 72% compared to 81%. Now, you would want to see the passing accuracy maybe increase by about 10%. You want to see that shooting accuracy probably increase by 10, 20%. And the conversion rate, you certainly want to try and get that up into around about 20%. But just to break it down for you, in the 4 most prolific seasons of Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo's career, their conversion rate was about 15%. So put that into perspective here, it was around 15%. When you see players at the 44s and 50% this early in the season, you will typically see that drop. There are some, as I said before, freaks out there, freak of natures, the Haalands, who have a much higher level. But it's still an area that he wants to improve right now. And I'm talking, you're talking 5 to 10%, another 5 to 10% improvement that Darwin Nunes needs in those areas. But it's marginal improvements that he needs. And for me, do I think he's a complete player? No. Do I think that he has to improve? I've just mentioned yes, and I put out some areas there. His accuracy of shooting and conversion rates, his ability to just pull off a few more passes within a game and maintain a bit more possession. But in terms of his first touch, he's suffering from a popularity issue. He's suffering from a fashionability issue. He isn't fashionable. The way he plays, the way he looks, his body movement, it's unfashionable. It isn't pretty. It's not aesthetically pleasing. Therefore, people say it is bad. I turn around and say, well, how do you, if he becomes more and more efficient, and by the way, he's been pretty good so far this year in terms of efficiency across all competitions. If he improves on that efficiency, that outweighs the eye test every single day of the week. Jurgen Klopp has got faith in this guy. Liverpool have invested big money in him. The likes of Thierry Henry recognizes a very talented player in there. Yes, there's some flaws. Yes, he's never going to be, in my opinion, Harry Kane or Karim Benzema. But that doesn't take away from how good the Fernando Torreses, the Robbie Fowlers, the Del Pieros, the Inzagis, the Andy Coles, the Dwight Yorks, the Ruud van Nistelrooys were as footballers, the Michael Owens, the Alan Shearers. This notion that you're not a good footballer because you can't do what Benzema does, because you can't do what Harry Kane does, is wrong in my opinion. There are multiple different types of football players that make up teams. If everybody was Harry Kane, we don't know this, it's a theory. I don't think you'd be able to win football matches. If everybody was Iniesta, you wouldn't be able to win football matches. If everybody was Darwin Nunes, you wouldn't be able to win football matches. It's about creating that blend. And I think what Jurgen Klopp has got to do is bring all the major qualities of Darwin Nunes together and make them work. And I'll give you an example here of Tiger Woods, in many people's eyes, the greatest golfer of all time. Certainly one of. There's a story that I read about him that when he was younger, his father wanted him to practice more and more of getting out of the bunkers. And it was actually one of the weaknesses of a young Tiger Woods, getting out of bunkers. But one of the major strengths of Tiger Woods was hitting the ball so far and so straighter and more accurate than any other golfer within his age group, and almost as more than any other golfer in history at that point, pound for pound, age-wise, I'm talking. He turned around to his father and said, listen, rather than me wasting time being bored and working on something I'm bad at and not really improving, let me work and advance on the thing that I'm already amazing at to become the best at. And that's making sure I don't go into bunkers. And of course, he does subsequently go into bunkers. The same as there'll be times in games where Darwin Nunes has to try and complete passages of play and phases and skills that he isn't the strongest at. But what Liverpool need to do is focus on his assets and make him the best in the world at those particular things. And they will yield reward, and it'll be a fruitful yield from this individual player. But for me, I've rethought the Darwin Nunes stance, and I don't think he's world class at this point. I know there are flaws in him, but I think the level of criticism he's receiving is too far over the top. I think it doesn't actually, some of it doesn't even make much sense. I think people's eye tests are ruling their actual footballing brains because they don't like something. They're not seeing the positives and the good within. And I think that he will come good at Liverpool. And a lot of Liverpool fans think he already is coming good in terms of that goal return. And once he settles and that confidence is there, there could be a very, very dangerous player here in the Premier League playing for Liverpool Football Club. Now, I want your thoughts and I want your feelings in the comments section below. Make sure you're subscribing to the Football Terrace and you turn on that bell notification button. But until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. Thank you.